Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a demo and review of the new NARS All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation. I've had this foundation now for about a month and I've been using it quite often, so I have a pretty good idea of how the foundation works. I'm also going to show you how I found my best way to apply it is, so you'll see that in the demo coming up. So if you're interested in just seeing what I have to say, then just keep watching. Okay, so before we get into the actual demo of the product, I do want to give you guys a brief overview of the foundation. This is what it looks like. It comes in this frosted glass bottle, the top, and then it has a pump underneath. So that is definitely a plus. The pump comes with the foundation. You get 1 ounce of product for $48. And it comes in about 21 shades if I counted that correctly, so that's definitely a plus as well. NARS usually does a really good job as far as having a good foundation range. Now if you've ever used any NARS foundation, you will notice that a lot of the shades are yellow undertone, but they do have ones with red undertones too, so more than likely you'll be able to find a shade that works for you. I have the shade Cadiz, which is medium dark 3. And I think it matches me pretty well. As you will see in the demo, when I first apply it, it does look a little bit lighter, but then it oxidizes to my shade. For me, that's not a big deal because this is a shade I wear in all NARS foundations. But just keep that in mind if you're thinking about purchasing the foundation. According to the Sephora website, NARS claims that this is an oil-free foundation that should give lightweight, feather-light coverage that lasts up to 16 hours and all in one drop. In addition, it claims to give full coverage while still leaving a natural finish, and it claims to have even tone technology that will work for all skin tones. So that's pretty much it for the claims. It does kind of have some big claims, so we'll see if it lives up to them. Just keep on watching. Alright, so hopefully you all can see me. I'm sorry if the lighting is not that good, but I don't have a good setup as far as where my vanity is and where I can situate lights. So hopefully this works. I guess I'll see when I edit it, and if this video goes up, hopefully it's not too bad. But anyway, I'm going to start out by applying primer. My skin has already been cleansed and moisturized just with my normal skincare. The primer that I'm going to use is the Maybelline Master Prime Blur and Illuminate Primer, which is the one that I have been using a lot with this foundation. And I like it because it does not have like any glitter or sparkle to it, but it is slightly illuminating, and I think that helps this foundation look better on my skin. Okay, so I always do that part first, and then I kind of go on to my eyebrows, and if I'm going to do anything to my eyes, just to kind of let it sit. So I'll be back in a second after I do my eyebrows, and then we'll get to applying the foundation. Okay, so I'm back, and this is a really quick, like, couple minutes that it really took. The primer is now set into my face. All I pretty much did was my eyebrows. I'm not really doing much eye makeup today, or any eye makeup really. So now I'm gonna go ahead and apply the foundation. So I'm gonna shake it up just like it says to do on the package. And this is something you always want to do when you have a really liquidy foundation, because they have a tendency to separate. So the way I do it is I use 1 pump typically, especially for a work day. I can do 2 pumps if I'm looking for a full coverage, but you'll see that with 1 pump I get like a medium cover. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on and see if I can show you. All right, so that is what 1 pump looks like. And I promise that is just 1 pump. So it comes out pretty liquidy, as you can see. The way I like to apply this is I like to take the pump and apply it to my face with my fingers, and then I'll blend it out with a brush. I found that applying it with my fingers gives me, makes it blend a little bit easier. It helps to warm the product up. Now this product does set relatively quickly, so it's not something you want to like go too slow with, shall I say. Sorry. So now I'm just gonna blend that out with my foundation brush. And I'm using the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush, which I also talked about in my favorites video. This is the brush that I like to use with this foundation just because it doesn't soak up too much product, which can be a problem with some of these really liquidy foundations. But it really just helps to blend it out really easily. And it doesn't like make my dry spots get accentuated like some other foundation brushes can. All right, so that is it. And I'm sorry I didn't do the half and half, but I found that with this foundation, if you don't work quickly, you need to add more product. So in some people's videos, I've noticed like first impression, people end up using more than one drop. Now they might want fuller coverage than what I'm looking for, but I've noticed that like the first time I used it, I tried to do half and half, and it really didn't work because by the time I got to the second half, the foundation was kind of drying up on my hand. So to use less product, I do my whole face. So hopefully y'all can see a difference. As you can see, I still have some imperfections that peek out here, but I do think this is definitely heavier than a light coverage. I do think it's a medium with the one drop. So the one drop full coverage, it's kind of iffy. I don't know if I can agree with that claim, but I do think it gives medium coverage at one drop. Now I could go up to full coverage by using 2 drops, but I'm going to work, so I'm not going to do that. Plus, it claims to be a 1-drop foundation, so I really wanted y'all to see how it looks with just 1 drop. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the rest of my face, and then I'll come back really quickly to let you see how it looks once it sits. Okay, so I'm back and the rest of my makeup is done. I kept it really simple today. As far as face makeup, the only concealer that I put on was just right underneath my eyes, and I set that with the powder. I did not set the rest of my face with the powder. Now I did use bronzer and blush and highlight powder products, but as far as setting the rest of the foundation, I didn't touch that. So as you can see, I think, in my opinion, that this gives a really nice finish to the face. It does not look matte on me, but what I do want to point out is that this foundation, it really makes a difference what you use under it. Depending on what primer I use, sometimes if I use like a more mattifying primer, I will definitely get a more matte look. But I like that this is kind of that natural satin finish on my skin when I use it with the Maybelline primer. So keep that in mind, but I like the way it looks when I first apply it, which is a plus for me. So yeah, not much to say about how it looks besides that. Another thing I do want to point out though that really makes this foundation stand out is that I use so little. As you all can see, I use 1 tiny drop, and that covered my entire face, and it feels really good when you apply it. It feels really smooth. In my opinion, it blends easily if you apply it, like I said, but you know, the way you apply it makes a difference with this foundation. I will say that this is not a one-size-fits-all foundation, but it does apply really smoothly when I do it the way that I showed you guys. Also, with a lot of the really liquidy foundations, they give you a feel to your face like nothing's on them. Now, I have to say with this foundation, that's not the case. It doesn't feel heavy. It's still a very lightweight foundation, which I think will make an awesome choice for summer, depending on your skin type. We'll get into that later, but I think it'll make an awesome choice for summer. But when you touch your face, you can definitely feel it. I'm not gonna say it's sticky, but it feels like you're wearing a moisturizer. So if that bothers you, then you could definitely set it with a powder. And I've noticed that when I have set it with a powder just to try it out, that helps that feeling. So when I think about this foundation compared to my Lancome, what's it called? Where is it? So the Lancome Nude Miracle Foundation is the one I was referring to. When I put this on, when I actually touch my skin, it actually feels like I'm wearing nothing on my skin. This NARS foundation, that's not the case. I feel like I'm wearing a moisturizer, but I wouldn't say it's sticky or uncomfortable, but just keep that in mind. It definitely feels like it could transfer on to other things, and I have noticed that this foundation does transfer a little bit. So I gotta go to work. The time right now is 12:15. I get off tonight at 8 p.m. so I will be back later on to let you guys see how it held up throughout the day, and I will see you guys later. Hey y'all, I'm back and the time is now about 8:45 p.m. So I've had this foundation on for about 8.5 hours. and I was at work. So I have been active. I don't sit at a desk at work, so I move around a lot at my job. So you can kind of see how it's holding up. As you can see, I am shiny. Now, it is night, so the lights are shining on me, which always makes me look a little bit shinier, but I am shiny and I would blot if I were about to go somewhere. So I'm just gonna kind of let you see what it looks like before I blot. I did take a close look at my face prior to getting on camera just to see what my foundation was looking like, and it looks shiny, but it does not look like the foundation has gone missing. And you can even still see my blush and bronzer still on. So it's holding up as far as, you know, it's holding up on my face as far as the coverage, but the shine, this doesn't claim to be a mattifying foundation or anything. It just claims to be long wearing, so it does not keep you matte. So please keep that in mind if you're thinking about this foundation. So I'm just gonna go ahead and blot right here on camera. Now these are the areas that I always get shiny in, so it's not a big deal that I got shiny there, in my opinion anyway. Okay, so this is what my face looks like after I've blotted, and like I said, foundation still looks good and it looks a lot better now that I've blotted. Now if I wanted to touch it with a powder, I could. I have done that before, just, you know, if I was going somewhere, and it doesn't really look cakey. I feel like this foundation does work well for touch-ups. Typically when I have touch-up with powder, I've used the NARS All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation Powder. Long name, and that works really, really well with this. So if you have that, then that would be a good powder to use along with this foundation. Okay, so let's get into my thoughts about the foundation. So I do really like this foundation, but I don't think it's a foundation that's going to work for everybody, and I'll tell you why. Number one, it does not keep you matte, so if you have oily skin, then this might not be the best foundation for you. I'm not saying that you cannot wear it, you definitely can, but you do want to pair it with a mattifying primer and probably a powder as well. Also, this may not work for people with extra dry skin, because on me, it does not accentuate any dry patches, but like the first time I wore it, it did accentuate like one dry spot that I had on my nose. And just watching other people's reviews, it seems that people with really dry skin, this really doesn't work for, because it can accentuate the dryness. Plus, before I kind of got into the rhythm of how I like to use it, if I use it with certain primers, it didn't necessarily make me look ashy per se, but I could see where it was going, like it like it was on the way to being ashy. So I could just imagine that if you have really dry skin, this is probably not the best foundation for you unless you really moisturize and use a moisturizing primer prior to using the foundation. So that being said, I think this foundation is better for people with normal to combination skin types. I do have a combination skin type where I'm oily in my T-zone and dry on my cheeks, but I'm not overly dry and I'm not overly oily in my oily area, so keep that in mind. So for me, the pros of this foundation is that the finish, it looks really nice on camera, it looks good in person, and it looks good throughout the wear of the foundation. Also, it feels relatively lightweight. I don't feel like it's a foundation that my face feels icky and gunky at the end of the day. I feel like I could wear it for a long period of time because it doesn't feel bad on my face like some foundations can. The other pro for me is that this foundation can be built up to a fuller coverage. So this is a foundation that I definitely feel like you can wear for special occasions. And it will give you full coverage, but you won't look overly made up, if that makes sense. It's really hard to explain, but the full coverage that it gives you still looks natural. So I think those are the pros for me. Cons of the foundation, of course, are price. It's, I think, about $48. Now, for me, that's not horrible when it comes to a foundation. I expect to pay a higher end foundation. I expect to pay anywhere from $40 to $50 and you know, that's fine with me. I'm fine with spending that on foundation, but I know that will be a problem for some of you, so just keep that in mind. If you know, if you're thinking about getting this foundation, it is expensive. Another con would be that you gotta play with it to see how you like it. I've been using this foundation for probably over a month now, and the first week of me wearing it was me wearing it all kinds of different ways, and I wasn't really sure how I felt about it, but the more I've worn it, the more I've really grown to like it. And then the last con that I would say is that it doesn't last 16 hours. Like, I know today I only wore this foundation about 8.5 hours, but I have worn it longer over the past month or so. Probably the longest I've worn it is about 13, 14 hours. And besides getting oily, I did start to see the foundation break up on the areas where I got oily. So I know it doesn't last 16 hours or like what it claims. For me, that's not really an issue, but you know, if you're holding it to what the foundation claims to do, then keep that in mind. It does not last 16 hours, and I have not seen one person review say that it lasts 16 hours for them either. So that's that. I will, on my blog, have a post regarding this foundation in which I'll give you some more detailed pros and cons about the foundation, but I didn't want to make this video too long. So if you're interested in seeing more about this foundation, then just take a look at the blog post that'll be linked down below. And if you have any questions or thoughts about this foundation, or if you've tried this foundation, or if it works for you or doesn't work for you, please share it down below. I'm sure that will help somebody. All right, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.